My name is Kelly.
You want to open it up?
I'm
with a
good.
little solo?
I'll have to get my own instrument to start next time. Many of you know I've kind of come and gone with the group. I had some things going on in my life, and I was uncertain about the group. And then a few months ago, I had a get together at my place, and several of the UBUNTU members came, and I think that got a little bit of my juices stirring again. And then I had worked with Trigby a little bit and giving a little bit of insight and perspective or help on the vision statement. That actually I would correct and say that is not a vision statement. It is more of a mission purpose statement. So, but after looking at that, and I was in the midst of doing my own personal purpose statement, I realized that they aligned at this point, so I'm back.
Good.
And anybody who knows me, I'm more about the nuts and bolts of things. I've been in business for 25 years. I've owned my own businesses for 25 years, and just love the way that groups can get together, collaborate on things, and get things done. So today I want to talk a little bit about what is going on with the group and what things that I think we can do to become a successful organization. I presented several months back, I think it was last fall maybe, just in general terms about a successful organization and hierarchies and a lot of those business concepts that I think are relevant in any organization. It's not the most fun, sexy, glamorous part of an organization, but I think it's what is the difference between the ones that progress and evolve and those that either stay stagnant, or if they do stay stagnant, they die. So the objective that I wanted to complete today with this presentation is to help to evolve the UBUNTU Minneapolis Circle beyond being a startup. I mean, it's been 3 years now? 2 years. And I think, that's good startup phase kind of stuff. And it's been the classic, what you would observe in a startup organization, a business, whatever. There's good ideas, there's false starts, there's sputtering, there's success, we lose momentum, we gain momentum. So I think we have a lot of good experiences to leverage off of now. We've seen what some things work, we've seen some things that we wouldn't do again, but then to just kind of evolve it now into that thriving organization. If you ever hear me talk about organizations and business, my core belief is that the path to success for any organization is through alignment. And that alignment is from members that belong to it, whether it's a business, a nonprofit, or a group like this. They have shared beliefs, purpose, and vision. The other alignment comes from having strategic execution of the work in the organization. And that work aligns with what the vision, purpose, and beliefs are. I do something, if anybody knows Simon Sinek stuff, he talks about the celery test. Is anybody familiar with that? So if your purpose is to be healthy, and you have the choice of eating celery or M&Ms, your test is right there. You have to choose what is going to be the action that will support your purpose. So are you going to either eat the celery or are you going to have the M&Ms? So I'd like to take that concept. When we do anything, let's give it the celery test. Does it support our new purpose? And as we develop a more clear vision, when we are about to take action or bring on a project, let's give it the celery test. Does it fit that? So I was trying to think of a way to get everybody to understand this crazy business of purpose, mission, vision, all of this kind of stuff. I've been working in it for 25 years, and I've always found it kind of confusing. Why do we have a mission statement? What is it for? Is it fluff? Do we have a vision? What's the difference between a mission statement and a vision? So I had a brainstorm yesterday in the shower as I was trying to think this through. So I ran out, toweled off, and I was sitting at my computer, so this is the result of that. So it's a work in progress, so bear with me.
Good vision.
Yeah, well, sorry about that if you have to think that. So I wanted to use this example of your venture that you're going to undertake is a garden. So I was inspired the other day to create a garden. And I want to talk about the why and the what portion of that aspect. And the why is that purpose, and that what is the vision. So my purpose in creating this garden, I decided the purpose statement would be, we're going to create a garden so that we can eat delicious and nutritious food. That's my purpose statement. That's the whole reason. Everything I do now going forward has to support that. My vision then is going to get a little bit more detailed. It's going to excite me when I think about it, and I started thinking in terms of this garden will be a 40 by 40 plot with a fence around it. It's going to have fertile soil, abundant water. The plants will be clearly labeled in nice, organized, even, spacious rows that will allow me to get in and out. I can imagine myself working in there alongside my friends, gardening and sharing in the harvest. That's my vision statement for this new venture of the garden. Does that make sense? Anybody? Can you imagine yourself in that garden, or as being part of this group with that? So that's the why and the what. So now we as a group now have a very clear purpose, but I think that we don't have a clear vision at this point. We need to start describing in terms of what does our garden look like. So the next part of this is the how. I have a clear purpose. I can imagine what it's going to look like, and I have a future picture of it. But how am I now going to bridge that gap? I talked about the gap last time I met, between my reality right here today and what I want to manifest into my vision of the future. So the first thing I'm going to do is take an inventory. I like the idea of start where you stand. If anybody knows Kevin Trudeau back in the day, that was a big part of his that stuck with me all these years. Whenever I do anything in business, it's what do I have today? So what are my resources? So create an inventory of my resources. For my garden example, my backyard. That will suit. I have enough space for that. I have a team of 4 knowledgeable and skilled gardeners that I have as friends that I'm going to recruit for this thing. I have $450 American cash currency, and I have 475 numero available to me. That I think I can work with that. It's enough for me to say I'm going to move forward with it. So the next thing I want to do is start my strategic planning process. So I want to start creating overall goals now for this garden. I have a purpose. I know why I'm doing it. I have a vision. I know what it's going to look like, and it's pretty clear, and it's pretty enjoyable for me to think about. Now I need to start getting more granular. I need to be more specific about it so I can get it into more an actionable item. So my goals for the garden is to have different things planted. I'm going to have lettuce, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, radishes, broccoli, the list goes on. And then I want to get a little more about those and say, I'll have lettuce, carrots, and radishes by June 15th and finish harvesting everything else by the end of October. We expect about 826 pounds of produce by the end of the season. So from the overall garden venture, these are my goals. So the next part then is, as you can see, I'm gradually bringing it down more granular, more granular, more granular. The next part is I'm going to look at what has to happen. What are the actionable items for this to happen? So I'm going to break it down now into projects. Each project, I'm going to have its own purpose statement. So project 1 is to develop that space. I need to take my bare backyard and make it into, the purpose here I have is provide the plants with requisite growing conditions. So that it's going to involve some tasks now that need to happen. I'm going to give it target dates. I have some tasks of building a fence, because that's part of, I think, of providing plants, or not having all the rabbits and the deer eat it all. Unless you have a lot, right?
You gotta have a fence. You gotta have a fence.
Another task is going to be to till the soil, and then I'm going to assign that to those people that are in my team that are going to be part of that. I need to create some sort of water system, because we talked about our initial vision had abundant water as part of it. I know that needs to be there. So project 2 then, as I piece this thing together, I'm roughing it in basically. And the way I would do this is I would identify all the projects first at a high level and what the purpose of each of them is, and then I would go across and start filling each of them in. Some of these projects have dependencies. I don't know that in this group we're going to have that, but it could, to where I can't start project 2 until project 1 is done. So now we need a little coordination between the projects for them to happen. Although they're different project coordinators, we need to coordinate it well. So this one I did add a difference on here of the dependency for that. The next part that I'm going to start doing, let's say we got all this done, I want to create some feedback to know, are we going towards our vision on this, or are we not? And some of it's just observable. I can look and see those plants are growing, but maybe to be more confident and trust that this is going to happen, I need to have a little bit more data, or a little bit more exact in my observation. So I'm going to create something we call in the business world key performance indicators, or just you're looking for criteria, or expectations is another way to put that. Plant height by date. I don't know, I'm not a big gardener. This was just stuff I was making up again. I was in the shower. Failure rates. How many plants went? I planted 5 and only 3 showed up. You don't have to do it. Time. Yes. Yep. Participation with my team. Only 2 out of the 5 are showing up. So we're wondering why we got overrun with weeds. I can correlate that to the fact that we don't have people coming. So I can now explain to people when they show up, I have a very insightful answer for them of what's happening there. Weed growth was the next one. I could correlate participation with weed growth. And then harvest dates by. So I know on each of these, when I mean by each of the different plants. Carrots were ready on this date. Broccoli was ready to go on this date. Greens are usually early, right? Yep.
And continuous.
Yeah, unless it gets too hot. So I'm going to track some of that information, and then I want to, in order for that information to be meaningful and actionable, or the opposite where it's all good, we just keep doing what we're doing. A couple of different report types that I like to do is reports that show parts of the whole. So of our harvest, 12% was carrots, 13% was tomatoes. So I want to look at overall, what did we net out of it? And again, thinking in terms of my vision, delicious and nutritious food on all this, that's all kind of rolling up to it. What is how can I maximize that purpose statement? So then the other type of report that I like to do is a trending report. So for any of the activities that I'm involved in or projects, we like to do a 12-month rolling. So let's say we start harvesting, I'm going to start tracking how much of what did we harvest in June, July, August. I'm going to do that across 12 months. The other thing that would be really cool as a practical matter for a garden is year to year. So I changed maybe a little bit of my fertilizer, and I want to see, and all of a sudden next year I got 30% more carrots in by weight, that sort of thing. So a lot of smaller organizations and groups wouldn't take the time to do a lot of that kind of reporting. It's not critical, but I think it's necessary in giving people confidence in what's happening is actually working.
Makes it fun.
For me it is. That's not everybody though.
You would be the one doing it.
Right, but even people looking at data, some aren't as... there's varying degrees of that, I guess I would say.
Okay.
So, that's my analogy of how you would take and start with your why, your purpose, have a clear vision, and then create your actions and your how. How are you gonna make that actually happen? As an example. So we have to think of Ubuntu as our garden. What does it look like? Does it have 50 members? Does it have 100? I have some goals that I'll throw out in the end of this, but just wanted to kind of start getting people thinking in terms of that. So as far as organizational structure goes, whether you're a 300 employee organization or you're a single proprietor of a business or an organization, you have these layers. You just happen to be doing all three of them by yourself and wearing different hats. But you'll have a visionary, the person that comes up with that idea. I think I want a garden. Or I want to create a group that is serving this particular purpose. So those visionaries are very creative type thinkers. They typically contrast where they don't know how to break it down into actionable items. Not always, but most of the time. Strategic coordination then comes into play with those people who are better at that coordination. They can look at that end goal, that vision, and say, all right, here's how we break it down by its components: internal operations, promotions and marketing, execution of our projects. I'm going to do this month. I'm going to go and have these meetings and get this done and have actionable items. So the strategic coordination, that coordinator's role, is about goal setting and making sure that those goals then align with the vision again. As we look at the execution, then as the third layer, we want every action item to create a result. And those results then create the goals. The execution part of it are people who are just taskmasters. And in this organizational structure, I try to stay away from the fact that one is more important than the other. It's just different skill sets. I know some great visionaries, but they can't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. They're inept at everything else other than just being super creative people. At the other end of it, people who often are great executors may not often be as good at problem solving and being creative about solutions. But their contribution is in creating those results. Again, contribution is necessary at each of these layers. So moving forward, one of the things that I have been proposing as far as within this group then, in kind of falling into that whole methodology, is that we have really defined project coordinators and defined projects and what's their expectation. If you have a great idea and you think it would be part of this group or it would fit with this group, you would bring it to Trigvi or I. We want to kind of vet it out. We're going to give it the celery test and see does it fit our purpose and vision. If it's close, I would set up a meeting. I think you got a great idea here. Let's vet this out. Let's collaborate on it. And then what we would do is prepare you to present to the group. And we kind of want to have that formal / informal format. Does it have a purpose? Do you have clear objectives on it? What's the plan that you would see? Convince us it's real and it's attainable through a breakdown of tasks, assignments. We talked about costs. I mean, Trigvi did it. I mean, basically what he did for each of those projects is kind of what we're looking for. Maybe a little bit expanded, that you're going to have 45 minutes to pitch it. So that's going to be the way that you would recruit members to your team from the group, is to convince them to be part of it. And then once you've got members and they're interested and you're off, and it becomes part of our assets of projects, I would say. There's probably a better word than that, but you would need to continue to organize and coordinate that group so it doesn't just get built and left. That there is actually accountability back to the group. We're giving you support. We want to see that that project is being moved along, and then we would ask as a section of the meeting that each project that's going on at that point has a check-in. Pictures are great for that sort of thing, and just, hey, we were able to accomplished these steps in it, or we produced this particular product and it's done and we're selling it. Now, I mean, if we do that Michael Tellinger model, it's going to be how much revenue did we produce on this last month, kind of a thing. So we would require that there's a status check-in. And again, we're kind of trying to vet these out more to help that person. We're not trying to be the gatekeepers of this. We just want successful progress of projects that contribute to, and not waste everybody's time. I would open it up if you wanted to be part of that vetting team. You're welcome to as well. So with that, I do have a proposed meeting agenda, a little bit of a modification to it. Basically, as we've done before with the gathering and so forth, and new members kind of getting introduced to the group, we would do our guided meditation, and then a little note from Trigby as far as what's happening in the group overall and nationally, just kind of like exactly like you did today, I think. And then go into if we have a presenter that's maybe outside of the group or somebody who has a particular topic, and then do our current project check-in with each of our project coordinators, and then any new projects. We're thinking maybe 2 a month that we would allow for that. Something I want to throw out there is to end each meeting with a potluck lunch and a market. And so it's something that's just right now brainstorm. I'm kind of going through I have an idea. So I have to create a purpose statement for each of those.
You're gonna need to run that by you.
For sure, for sure. I'll give it the celery test though, right? Yep.
Yes.
The potluck would be an opportunity for us to showcase your awesome harvests and how you prepare them, why it's nutritious. I would try to encourage people to not buy things from the grocery store and bring them, to let's start practicing what we preach. I mean, if you can go from garden to table here, would be phenomenal. My plan is I'm gonna buy stuff from people that grow this stuff, maybe that I'll go to their place, I'll pick it up, I'm gonna prepare it and sell it at the market or have it as part of the potluck at our next meeting. So we're kind of then, I'm showing an example of working together. I'm not a good gardener, but I enjoy cooking. And then we can kind of have that whole feel of it. Again, I'm proposing it out there. We're kind of doing that informally already with people bringing food. So I think it would just be an expansion of that. I would love to see what people bring and what we're capable of producing. I would even think with the potluck, before we start eating or as we're eating, each person talks about their dish. Where did they source the produce from, or the meat? It was my brother raised these chickens, and what's the nutritional value in it? There's turmeric and there's ginger, and it's good for this and this and this. Again, it's kind of back to our practicing what we preach on that kind of stuff. So this is my list of goals. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just wanted to give the idea that this is what I'm thinking about, and I would like to propose for the next meeting that we spend a little bit more time. Let me take that back. I'm going to send some of this out in an email. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, and I would like to do this more through offline. I don't want to take up a whole meeting about doing. But if you have some specific goals that you feel would be in line with or align with the group, we'd like to hear them.
I don't know, 90 years, I don't think we'll be able to make that.
What's that?
90 years is not enough time.
The goals for 2,108.
Oh,
It's good to have long-term goals. It's good.
Yeah, good to have long term.
we've got a lot of work to do.
Hopefully we'll get 25 members by then.
So these were just a brainstorm. I just kind of threw out you know, some of those things that I just wanted to have a,
By then, it should be an Ubuntu world, let me tell you.
Do you see
You know
what
what
he's
we're
talking
talking
about?
about?
21,
I like those
the date up on
goals,
top.
Tank.
It's not gonna be, we're not waiting that long.
that was a
He said he-
typo.
He said he took it up.
I mistyped that. I meant 2018.
Do you think?
We figured, I thought it was
we got it.
funny, because, you know,
Yeah.
90 years.
We got it.
So, anyway, and I like to break out my goals by function in the organization. So I'm nuts and bolts guy, right? So we have operations, we have marketing and promotions as a function, and then we have the execution of our product or service. So membership, that's more internal about how the biggest one here is developing an effective communication strategy. We've got this website and that website and Facebook, and I never know where to find information about this group. It's kind of all over the place, so I want to unify that and bring it into, so everyone understands where to get information. It might be in different places because certain kind of information is better presented through different means, but I have done this for other businesses where we create a strategy for it. There's a website, there's the Ubuntu national website, there's circles, we use Facebook, YouTube for sure. One of the other initiatives I hope to do, well, I don't hope to, I'm going to, is create a newsletter. So a monthly newsletter that would go out between, I think meeting once a month doesn't keep the energy going. I think with members, and I think, you know, maybe a week or two after the meeting to have a newsletter to go out to recap what happened at the last meeting and tee us up for the next one.
I'd like to point out on that one, my preference would be that we add something to the newsletter that already exists. There's a national newsletter Deborah Mazzaro puts together, and I've put a couple of contributions in there, but it's not enough, and I think that doesn't have visibility to this group anyway, because they're not.
So we can pull what you feel is relevant
Yeah.
into our group and so forth. A couple on the events, we have our monthly meetings. I have a group right now, and we want to expand, and actually weekly fellowship gatherings, where we're going to go over and work on the garden, and then we're going to have a little bit of a potluck kind of a get together every Sunday. It is every week, but I figure not everybody will go every week. If you can make it, great. If not, it'll be a mix of different people every week and be kind of a chance to be more, not talk business, but talk about just fun kind of things that are going on, and maybe with things with your projects, or you're concerned about something in your life and you just want to share it with people. It's kind of more of that fellowship kind of gathering. And then four kind of more social events in the year. I'm already doing this personally, so I'm just going to continue on and have it be inviting the Ubuntus. I have usually 4 gatherings at my home. We do one for winter solstice, and we're doing one tonight, basically. So this is going to be our summer event, is going to be tonight at my place. And then the fall, I'm envisioning a big harvest festival. I think Christine wants us to do it over at the One Small House for kind of a harvest festival. And then winter solstice has been always my big event. That's my biggest favorite time of the year. So, and then just the documentations or the operations side of thing, I plan to document everything we do, to get it on paper, make it tangible. So if there's any questions, we sort of have a single source of truth for everything. It would be available to everybody. If they have a question about it, we can bring it up and say, yeah, this is what we had agreed on 6 months ago, how we do things. I'll have in there the master contact list for the organization, how we do processes, accounts. I've been trying to find where's our Facebook account and what this website we have, and so I'm gathering all of that and getting it all into one place. And then our technology, which is more of the hosted kind of stuff. And then, like I said in my garden example, start tracking. Let's start seeing month to month how many members are showing up for things and starting to see trends. I would love to see, and I don't think it would be too difficult, active participation in projects. I don't even think we need hours, but just how many times did a member show up for an event or project execution? I think would be a good start. Hours would be great, but I think I always start with what's easy and then kind of go from there. So I'm going to show off every month a scorecard. Here's our monthly scorecard. And then it's June and almost into July, start our strategic planning for 2019. Start that usually in the fall. I like to do with the organizations that I work with, so it's never too early to start planning, right?